on influencing and leading young people to make decisions for Jesus. It's not always, but it has sometimes led to baptisms. And so I'm excited to share that with you. My background is Adventist education. I served as an educator for 17 years. And let me tell you something, man, that's literally the hardest job I have ever had, is being a teacher. And so I wanted to find an easier job, and I became a pastor. I'm just kidding. English is my second language, guys. So, you'll have to forgive me. And, pastors never think that joke is funny. So I'm just kidding. We work hard. Pastors work hard. We work hard, right? But I remember the very first time that I did a baptism, and it's one of those situations where you don't want people to know that you've never done something. And so you're definitely insecure, but you're very prideful. At least for me, I didn't want others to know. But the people that did know, and you know this, man, it's your family. Your family knows the most about you. They get to see the uncensored, unfiltered, the authentic you when you're at home, behind the closed doors. And so my family knew, man, that I had never done this before. And so I was called to be a youth director, and it was summer camp setting. And long story short, man, I did this baptism, and I had so many emotions going through me in that experience. And so when all the campers were headed up to the lodge for supper, the counselors went with them, and I was on the waterfront overlooking this amazing lake, this view, and I just had my family with me. And we just had that moment, man, and I just fell into the arms of my wife and my children, and I'm just crying because it was such a special moment. I recognized that baptizing in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, I mean, it is like there's no other feeling, experience, and calling like it. So, I feel very honored to serve as a pastor. And so it was just one of those moments. So I absolutely love it. But one of the things that when I talk about intentional approaches and practical steps in leading young people to Jesus, I think I always start with the easy ones. Like when the youth director hands you a 3x5 card from summer camp, and he says to you, hey, there's a camper that is in your church that has expressed a desire for Bible studies and even towards baptism. I mean, that's a layup, man. You've got to take that. Or if a church member or a parent comes to you and says, hey, my kid has talked about baptisms, can you do Bible studies with them? Those are the easy ones, man. You got to take those opportunities, because you guys know that ministry is so hard. And so when someone gives you a lane for a layup, man, you got to take that. And you got to take that. And so you got to follow up on that like yesterday, man. Those are crucial. Those are crucial. I think the other thing that I do, another practical step, another step that I take, is that I always make sure that I call students to a response in my local church, or in my youth group, in my academy, in chapels. When I preach up front in the sanctuary, I'm always intentional about calling students to a response. If you want a special prayer for peace, I want you to come forward. If you want special prayer to help God get rid you of those addictions that's going on in your life, I want you to raise your hand. I want you to come forward, and I want to pray over you as God takes this burden from you. And so I'm always very intentional about that, because think about this, man, because when you're building, what you're really doing is you're building your young people's habits to responding to the call of the Holy Spirit. You're teaching them habits of responding to the speaker when the speaker makes an appeal. And so when that call comes to, if you want to give your life to Jesus and you've never been baptized and you want to do that today, I want to call you forward right now. I have a special prayer. I want to pray a special prayer over you as you have made this decision to follow Jesus for the rest of your life. And so if you're not intentional about that, you're not going to have very many kids come forward. You're not going to create a culture of students, young people, youth, responding to the speaker, who I pray is being led by the Holy Spirit. And so we just have to be very intentional about that, okay? And it's crucial. Another thing that I always talk about is investing in authentic and real relationships. This is crucial as well, man. You've got to invest in authentic and real relationships with your students. You're building trust, you're building deep bonds. Spend time eating with them, spend time taking them to theme parks, spend time coaching them in sports. I mean, this is not to say that you're not also spending time with them in chapels and preaching the word, or Sabbath school lessons, or just, doing the spiritual things as they say, right? But I'm talking about, in addition to that, I'm talking about watching their basketball games, their volleyball games, organizing fun things, gym night for them to attend. Because, let me tell you why. Because when you really invest in these real relationships and these authentic relationships and building bonds with them, what will happen is there is a time that's coming when something will happen in their life and they're going to need to talk to somebody about it. Maybe when they're going through some trials and some tribulations, or they have a breakup in a relationship and they need someone to talk to, they will think of you, the youth pastor. And when you go up to speak or to share a word or do a call for a response, also, hey, you've spent time, you've invested, man. You've put time and energy and effort into their life. And when you go up to speak, number one, they're going to love you, right? Because you've invested in them. You're good to them. You listen to them. And so when you have something to say, they're going to listen to you too. And because you've spent a lot of time with them, you know what's going on in their life. And so again, you have to be intentional about that, because those are the relationships and the bonds that you will be that influence in their life. And when you do that appeal, or when you have that conversation with them, they will be ready to listen, because they trust you and they know you and they love you. And they know that you want nothing but what's best for them. Boom. And so now I've got a baptismal class that we're almost done. In the next 4 to 5 weeks, we'll be baptizing some kids in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so I want to pray for you, and I want to encourage you that you've got to be intentional. I think the first thing that I was talking about was take the easy ones, right? If you get those easy ones, people just walk right up to you. You get a 3x5 card, or a parent says something to you about baptism for their child or themselves. You got to take that. Ministry's so hard that it's not always easy. And so when you get those easy ones, take it. I think you need to create a culture of response. And creating habits amongst your community of students and peers to respond, right, to the call, needing special prayer, etc. But that's only going to really work well if you're investing in their life and spending time with them, doing everyday life with them. I'm talking about school, tutoring some students. I'm talking about going to games. I'm talking about eating with them, fellowshipping, playing with them. And so when you do that, you will find that there will be young people that will step forward simply because you've been intentional about your approach to influencing and leading young people to make decisions to follow Jesus. Thank you so much for your time. Over now.